Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I've got a good one for you. So hey lovies and welcome back to my sewing room. Today we're creating that gorgeous Anthropologie gingham quilt, but for a fraction of the price. It's modern, it's cozy, and trust me, you're going to fall in love as to how simple this one is to make. So today we're making an Anthropologie gingham quilt dupe easy DIY tutorial. So Anthropologie's gingham's quilt has that soft wash look, kind of like vintage picnic vibes that meets modern minimalism. So to get that same look, I'm going to be using a mix of monochromatic tones that I picked up from Hobby Lobby when I was on holiday, and adding a little bit of crisp white in there for my throw pillow. So if we have a look at the quilts that you're seeing at the moment, many of them are very high contrast colors, and of course you can choose to create yours in this particular way. But I feel as quilters, we don't have to pay the $400 tag price that Anthropologie's is rating theirs as. We can create this beautiful quilt and anything else that you see in there. Now, when I was growing up, this for me reminds me of my mom making kitchen curtains, napkins, and throw pillows, but never really quilts as well as tablecloths. So it's very much trending at the moment. It's a beautiful gift that you can make that's trending, and it's going to be even much more homier, cozier, softer, and even more beautiful because it is handmade. So let's get started on the one that I'm actually going to show you how to make. I know you're going to fall in love with this. Alright, so here is the fabrics I will be using today. They are from 44th Street Fabric Company. I bought them at Hobby Lobby and I paid $4.99 for this, and it is 100% cotton. Okay, it's a fat quarter bundle of 5 and I got myself 2. Now, at the time, I told myself, Karen, pick up 3, but no, I went ahead and only got the 2. So, as I said, it's 100% cotton and it measures 18 by 21, which is normally fat quarter sizes. And as I said, you get 5. Now, it actually says on the instructions for the bundle to warm iron on them. So that's literally what I'm doing here, which we would do normally when we're making a quilt. So I'm opening them up and showing them to you at the time. As I said, it's a monochromatic sort of tonality quilt here. So some grays, some whites, some blacks, and white, basically. And again, I think there's a shaded or dark gray. Yes, that's the one in my hand at the moment for part of the bundle. Not both bundles was the same. So I'm going to finish up with this particular process here. It's nice and stiff. When I say stiff, there is no sort of give. It's not stretchy. It's proper 100% cotton. And I must admit, it felt like there's a slight sort of linen in there as well. But I could have been wrong. But I guess the textures felt that way. But it is 100% cotton. So I'm giving them a light press before I get started moving on to the next task. Once all the ironing is done, I would invite you to simply divide it down because I have 10 in total here. And I'm lining them up to prepare myself to trim all the edges. Now, as you know, at fat quarters, sometimes you can get them slightly bigger. So to avoid that, what I like to do is to go around all of the 4 edges to ensure that it's straight, it's all equal, and I'm making the same cut throughout all of the 10 fat quarters. So I've divided it down, so I have 5 here, I think it is, but I'm just lining them up in preparation for that. So that's very important because sometimes when you cut them, they can be out of shape, and you can find you've got odd sizes. So we are going to stack and cut. All the cuts have been done. I'm looking through them and thinking this is going by very quickly. So messing around with them now, flipping them over, they're all the same size, beautiful. Now, as you're laying them out, I want you to be as random as possible. Let's take our quilting brain out of this for a little moment. Just as random. The only thing I want you to pay attention to is to simply not have light colors next to each other. That is it. That is the only rule here. But we're looking for a very organic, random layout that's going to be very curated. So that is the objective I want you to think about of how you want to lay this out. So enjoy this process because it's a little bit of thought process free without stressing. All right, all the squares are laid out and I had to use some of the leftover fabrics to make up 2 squares or 2 blocks. So feel free if you decide to make this quilt. In total, we have 42 squares here. Now, if you wanted to, you could mix and match. So for example, if you have 2 of the different strips left, you can mix them together, but I'm not going to bother with that to make up anything else, right? I've only got the leftover scraps. I may throw them in as a throw pillow or something, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and sew this together as though I am making an ordinary quilt. It's looking really good. Happy with the progress so far. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. All right. Let me continue and I'll show you the updates. After completing the making the quilt up, I decided to take a rest. And so it's the next day and now I'm trimming up to make the borders. Now, trim away at the top, I've folded it all so I can ensure that they're all the same size. And again, life is easier. So I am going to bring the quilt in because I wanted to make sure that the size border I chose is the correct one for it and it doesn't look out of sync. When sewing on the borders, it is imperative that you start with a top and a bottom first, or you sew on side and then another side. So the left side and then the right side. You can decide on this. This is always personal to each quilter. But once you have started your first border, wherever area you decide to start on first, you must line up and trim. This ensures that it's nice and straight and the quilt is not wobbly or it doesn't look that the border is not on correctly. Now, the quilts from Anthropologie or McGee & Co., they're very different. They do not have the quilting that we do on there. So there's not much, meandering or swirls or feathers. You don't get that. You get the type of quilting or none at all that allows the quilt to be very flowy, so free movement. So normally when we quilt, it is usually kind of stiff at the end of the process. So for this one, I was pondering what is the right quilting technique to add to this quilt to make it more like an Anthropologie quilt. So I decided here to do wavy lines, and I think that was the best objective. And I'm going to show you later on where I did those wavy lines. As I'm quilting now, I'm thinking about the next step. Of course, this is the binding, and I'm thinking the best suited way to do this. Now, I decided that the best process here was to simply do a self-binding. So trim away the excess matting after you've quilted up to the point where the quilt top itself completes. And then once you've done that, you will see your excess backing fabric. So trim away to 1.5 from the edge of the quilt, and then I think that's more than enough for you to fold over. So therefore it would create a much more smoother, a little bit wider for the actual self binding. So here I am, raw edge to raw edge, and you're going to fold it over as you would normally, making a binding. And I think that really finishes it off, because normally you will not see an extra step for the binding with Anthropologie quilts. So we're going to try and keep it as close to it as much as possible. And you will go ahead and do a top stitch as you would normally when you are finishing your quilts. Well, everyone, here it is, my Anthropologie inspired gingham quilt. And isn't she just gorgeous? I mean, come on. That soft pastel palette, the crisscross checks, the wavy line quiltings just in between all of the blocks looks absolutely beautiful. It looks something like straight out of a designer catalog, doesn't it? I'm honestly so proud of how this one has turned out. You'd never believe how simple it was. Just a few fabric squares, some good pressing, and a bit of patience. That's the magic of quilting, isn't it? Taking little pieces of fabric and turning them into something beautiful and cozy. And this one's got the Anthropologie charm, but at a fraction of a price. It's soft, it's fresh, and it's giving me all the weekend brunch and coffee table vibes. Absolutely gorgeous. So if you decide to make one of these quilts, please tag me on Facebook. I love seeing your creations, or even tag me on Instagram at Crafty Quilting Designs. And please share your comments in the section down below, and I cannot wait to hear from you. If you enjoyed this little DUPE project, don't forget to give me a video a thumbs up and subscribe. And again, I'm looking forward to reading what you've got to say. So we've got so much more creative quilting ideas coming your way. So thank you once again. And I'm off to snuggle with this beautiful quilt on my bed. It is absolutely gorgeous, with a cup of tea and watching something really fantastic on YouTube. Now, using up all of my scraps, I went ahead and made a throw pillow. And again, everything was used up. What a beautiful project, guys. What a beautiful project. The pattern is in the description box down below. I am so looking forward to you making this. And as I said, please, 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 please tag me. I'd love to see yours. Now, this quilt cost me $28. An Anthropologie quilt is going to run you between $200 to $400. All I had to do was simply buy some extra backing. I already had my thread. I already had my batting. So literally something like this is so beautiful, it's going to cost you a fraction of a price. So bye for now. That's it for today. Happy quilting, and I'll definitely see you guys in the next video. And again, thanks so much for watching me today. Bye for now. Happy quilting.